Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, and hopefully, unlike last week, this week, it'll actually load. The stream is up, so good news, everyone. It's working this week. Fingers crossed. If it crashes, then I'm going to be upset and say some bad things to my PlayStation. But joining me this afternoon in a very cloudy, slightly miserable day in Belgium, but for us it's nice and sun. Well, it's dark, it's nighttime actually in real life. But welcome along, Mr. Quinn.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to be back in a commentary box with you after last week, and we're here round 8, I believe, here in F6 in PSGL, and we're at Spa-Francorchamps, so it's always an exciting race here, especially at turn 1 and then through Eau Rouge and Radion. That whenever you see side-by-side action through those two corners, it always gets the blood boiling a little bit. But yeah, it's good to be here.
Yes, indeed. Of course, Spa first hosting a race back in 1922, if memory serves me correctly. I'm not that old, but yeah, just over 100 years ago, pretty much, ish. I think it's 22. It might not be. It might be 30. One of them. It's a long time ago. It was on a circuit that's a lot bigger than it is now. Of course, 1970, it became slightly smaller because it closed. 1986, I believe, it was this new circuit. Since then, it's really not undergone, well, any change, apart from, well, the obvious, apart from the fact that the bus stop chicane is no longer a bus stop. And I know, they still call it a bus stop chicane. It annoys me because it's like a bus stop chicane, but they ran it over. But, Quinn, what's your opinion on this circuit? I think it's probably going to be the same as everyone. It's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a track I feel like most people on this game like racing round. And especially on this game where most people do prefer to run, well, very, very minimal wings around here to take advantage of the high speed parts. But there is a caveat to that. You will lose pretty much all sense of, well, turning and corner speed. But we are in F6 here, so these guys are more than capable of, well, showing that that might not be the case.
Yeah, indeed. But of course, first cars on circuit, and that will be, it's cool, man. We've got one of the Alfa Romeos right behind him as well. I think it might be Leon or Zoe. Which one is it? It is Leon right behind. I think Leon's probably going to pass him in a second as they go side by side nearly down in towards, well, the corners, but he's backed out of it there, so we'll go back to It's Cool Man then and right on board with the Williams Mercedes then as he comes down into the bus stop chicane at 180 miles an hour. Chuck it down there into third gear, chuck the right apex on, and then onto the left to warmer and get the straightest line you can up to the line then. And here we go, around a lap of Spa. 7.044 kilometres down in towards La Source, down into fourth gear, fling it in through there, use all the curb on the exit and a little bit more so that you don't ride over that giant sausage curb, you'll be fine. Down towards Eau Rouge you come then, the left hand up, dip it down there over the crest and all the way up then through into Radion, up the top then at 190 miles an hour. Kink the little right then as you come down the Camel straight over 210 miles an hour. We might just get up to about 213 miles an hour as you just split it on the brakes, then down into Lecom. Right lane left. You can hook over those curbs to get better turning as you now come out into the next couple of corners then. Down at Lecoms, down into Brussels then. Downhill braking, you can normally use the window gap to help you stop, but of course in this game wind doesn't really affect anything as you now come into Speaker's Corner, No Names Corner, whatever you want to call it. X Corner I think it's called nowadays. Through there you come, 7th gear, and then this is the blink and you'll miss it corner, down into Puon, chuck it down into 7th gear, just about keep it on the island, just on the exit of the curb, and then of course down into Campus, then the right left, where again you can hook it up on those curbs to get better turning, again right there, and on here as well. Look, what's on the exit, very easy to lose the rear end, but it does it all fine through there, as you come down into Stavolo 1, as I always keep calling it Stavolo 2, but of course it is Pulferere now. As you pass, of course, where I believe it's one of the Marshall buildings down there. As you now come in to the infamous Blanchimont section, of course, down into 17 and 18. And of course, at 200 miles an hour, something goes wrong. You're in a wall as you come down into the bus stop chicane. Chuck it back down into fourth gear, down into third, hit the curb on the right, hit the curb on the left. And again, straight line and all the way up to the line. It should be around about 43.7, I'd say. 43 dead for Coolman, so pretty accurate to... I thought it was a 43 somewhere. What, 43? Who knew? But next up, I think we've got Bunty coming up to the line. Then in the Mercedes, goes and puts himself on the front row of the grid. Behind that one of the Alfa Romeos. That'll be Leon crossing the line there, goes up to third. Behind that, we have got... Looks like one of the Hasses. It's Slinky actually instead goes up even quicker. 42.7 then for the Alpine. Behind one of the Ferraris crosses the line as we look down towards Compass, who goes up to fourth position. McLaren behind of Sem goes up to third. And then behind that we'll have Zoe crossing the line right now in the other Alfa Romeo, and he goes across the line in eighth. Behind that we've got the Mercedes, and where's that going to slot himself then into fifth position? Your championship leader, though. That's the quite crucial thing. Kart Racer, where is he in all of this?
It doesn't look like he's actually here.
No, he is. He's down to 16.
No?
Found him.
Yeah,
Don't worry. We found he's invalidated, however. He is here, though. Well, I'll say, where is he? He doesn't want to miss a race for championship, which is at 5 points. We'll go through it as qualifying opens up a bit more. But Kart Race up with first invalidation of his run. Slightly taps the wall as he comes into the pit lane. And straight in he comes. We've got a few others to finish their lap time. We've got Days Johnny, who is coming in at the pit lane. And I believe that is it for all of the main world, apart from potentially Colesbury, who's in 14th. And I think Trust Run, he's already done a lap, invalidated. And, well, I said that, Colesbury has just invalidated. So, never mind. Well, whilst we're here, let's go talk about the Drivers' Championship. 63 points, of course, that is Kart Racer. Top of the order. 5 points separate him and 1 Elliott in second in that Red Bull, and 1 Elliott so far in fourth. Behind them, we've got links in the Ferrari from Nico a little bit further back, and then, of course, the other, we've got El Pilot, who is in fifth position in the standings. Slinky in sixth, ahead of Chris in seventh. Bruno in eighth from Leon, Trust Run, and then SEM. That is your top 10. In terms of the constructors, Luke, and we mentioned this earlier on, it's a bit close because it is AlphaTauri leading on 77 points. Aston Martin are in second on 76 points, and Williams, guess what, they're on 75 points. So the top three separated by 2 points. Behind that, we've got Red Bull, further 19 behind. And then, of course, we've got the squiggles of Alpine, Ferrari, Alfa, Haas, McLaren, and Mercedes, all slotting themselves down the back. Of course, though, Mercedes, they haven't fired this season at all.
Yeah, it's been quite a disappointing season so far for Mercedes group, so hopefully they can use this race where there may be
a
lot of incidents.
And that's the Red Bull.
That is Colesbury.
Just let the rear up.
Yeah.
Car dropped right, and they went left.
Yeah, just while she was talking, 1 Elliott actually crashed out on the entry to... Oh, what's the corner? I can't remember the corner name.
Well, where is it on the circuit?
It's the long left-hander, I can't remember it.
Puon?
Yes, Puon. Yeah, he crashed out on the entry to Puon, there we go.
Most famous circuit, you forgot the corner name. God,
yeah.
Terrible. But anyway,
just had a blank moment.
But yeah, like we were saying though, it is awfully close to constructors, but Mercedes, they just not got any fights. They are both in the top 10 so far in qualifying, but they haven't had any luck.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard in this game because once you have 1 or 2 races in a row where you're just like having some bad luck, or you're just like having, well, you feel like you're having a good session but you find yourself outside the top 10, it can be really damaging. As you see, both Mercedes are out one behind the other, which is very interesting to see. Of course, I think in PSGL you aren't actually allowed to give teammates or anyone else slipstreams. So if they do, they may well be reported.
Indirect slipstream, I suppose you might get away with and say it wasn't proper, but yeah, but no, we'll see what happens. Of course, 2 Mercedes line astern together, like 1 Elliott out of the session. Apart from that, not really other people on laps, apart from it's Cool Man who's going for the second real one of this afternoon. Apart from that, because he went straight off the road, and I think he's bailed out of it. But I think he might have bailed out of that straight away. No ERS usage as he comes up towards our road, which is absolutely brilliant, by the way, 190 miles an hour. Though I always get scared of going up our road, mainly because on this game, on all the games, the car sometimes decides it wants to become a helicopter and fly into a wall at 180 miles an hour, which isn't fun. I will say I've had that many a times up there, but I suppose you've had it a few times up there, Quinn, dropping in our route in Radion.
Oh yeah, definitely. Way too many times in practice, but it never really seems to happen during a race. I just get it all done in practice sessions, which is a benefit to me, of course. But like when you're going around this track, there's always that worry of, well, crashing out at the top of Radion. But you just gotta have the confidence and stay calm. And if you go into that corner knowing that you're just like 100% confident, then you should be fine.
Yeah, meanwhile, kart racer, championship leader down in to the right and the left then, as you come through down into Stavelot. And as you chuck it through there, out the Fania chicane, a little bit on the curb, bit wiggly on the rear end, and he's still purple in Sector 2. However, how much of that was going to be lost because of that squiggle? Who's yet to find out, by the way. Well, he can only improve, I suppose. He hasn't set a lap time right now, so he can only go up to a minimum of 11 if he does set that time, though I feel he's going to get himself into that top 3 or 4 positions as Quinn decides to fall asleep half a minute. Not that boring, Quinn. Through the chicane we come, into the exit, up to the line, and let's see what you got then. Is he going to be able to put himself on pole position? Second. Only a 10th behind, despite that mistake. That is a blistering time.
Yeah, it's a very, very good time, and it just like puts the thought in your head, if he didn't have that mistake, what would have come of it? He would have definitely been on pole. And as I was saying that, Leon had crossed the line and just goes less than 0.03 of a second behind Kart Racer, so it's getting quite close to the top now, with the top 3 separated by just over a 10th. With the next closest person, it's Cool Man, being about 0.2 behind Leon, so top 3 really pushing ahead in this session. I'm not sure how long is left. We've got 6 minutes. I just had a look there. So getting into the latter stages of this session, Slinky goes even faster. So he's looking to get a good performance out of this race here.
Yeah, Comba goes in 5th position. I think he set a lap just, as I was trying to figure out who's where. Really be nice if you could have keyboard controls on here, so I could just press buttons, but I have to scroll through every single car to find it. It'd be really nice, Codemasters, if you could, implement that, so I can use a keyboard. I haven't got one. But meanwhile, Trust run up to the line in the Alpine, and let's see where he can go when he crosses the line at P10 right now. Looking down, we've got a Mercedes behind. That would be Bunty. I think the other one's come in the pit then, so Bunty's not on a lap time. He's 11 seconds down, so he's going again. We've got Colesberry. He is on a lap time. He's used all of these ERS and a bit more down into the chicane. He's only up by a couple of attempts, but let's see what he can do. Right then left. Up to the line. Let's see. Hopefully no rear end losses for the Red Bull. Cross the line this time. Does improve. Only got enough for 16th flow, so he's going to have to go again. We've only got 4 minutes 50 on the clock, so we'll be able to get one more run, but and was probably hoping for a little bit more there for the Red Bull driver, who finds himself in at the championship. Where is he? He is sitting. Where is he? I've got to try and find him now. Where is he sitting at the championship? Somewhere. Where is he?
Oh, Slinky. I think he's on his in-lap, but he did just drop it. And whilst you were talking, I just noticed that Janik has put himself up into P2. 0.02 of a second faster than Kart Racer. So 2nd to 4th is separated by 0.26 of a second. And then it's a further just over 10th and a half to Slinky. So it's high enough for the starting on the front 2 rows here.
Yes, it is, and Colesbury, by the way, down in 23rd in the Constructors of the 29 drivers that are in the Constructors. It is quite a lot of drivers to scroll through and find who's exactly where, but we got there in the end. But nonetheless, a few people in the pits, I said, everyone's done their first run. So one Elliott is probably ruining that mistake right now. Down in 8th position, he's dropping behind. Can't race the championship leader ahead of him yet again. But of course, in Spa, there is only one thing we can mention. Being Spa, and that is the weather, because as per usual in Spa, it can be absolutely anything at any one time. Right now it's sunny. It started the session very cloudy, and we believe the session is going to remain dry, but the actual race, we don't have a Scooby-Doo, because we don't get to find that out. I mean, we could ask the drivers, but what's the fun in doing that? We'll spoil it. I like the surprise, but let's see, 2 people yet to set lap times, El Piloter and Lennox, down at the back in 17th and 18th. Yeah. And, well, they're going to hope for a lap at least, aren't they?
Well, I do believe El Pilotor actually has a qualifying ban, so I don't think he will be participating in this. So he's just sitting in the pits. He should really go out and do an outlap so he can save his setup. But Lynx, I do believe he's actually coming out to the pits, well, coming out on track right now as we speak. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of lap time he can put in. And of course, if you're sitting at this point in the session and you haven't set a lap time, it could be a lot of pressure on you to actually perform in the last, well, about 30 seconds, I guess, by the time he crosses the start-finish line to start his lap.
Yeah, it's going to be cutting it close for quite a few drivers. Normally, if you're exiting the pit lane right about now, you'll be fine. But any later than that, you are not getting a lap time. So the Red Bull that's in the pit lane still.
That'll be one Elliott who's out of the session, and El Pilotor is still in the pits. So yeah, everyone apart from those 2 are out on track, and I believe Nico will be the first person to actually cross the line to start. Actually, no.
Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is. I'm pretty certain.
Yeah,
it does confuse you a little bit, because it does say not everyone's on an out lap. It says they're on a flying lap. That's just because the game does what the game does best, and being a little bit buggy, but we'll ignore that, because we do love this game sometimes when we love it. But up El Rouge they come then, and cutting a little bit of fun on the curb right there, but he gets away with it. Yellow flags, that's down at Stavolo. Those people just backing out of their lap to get a better run, as let's see Nico down sector 1, become a 10th and a bit up then, as he chucks it through into the comp, holds 5th gear as he chucks through the exit then, still in 5th, now down the hill then, of course the top of the circuit, now it's a roller coaster ride all the way down to the lowest point of this circuit with no other elevation. Chuck it down into X corner, sticks it in 5th again, and then it's into this blink and miss corner, down just a slight lift, maybe down 1 gear for good measure as well, and just about keeping the track limits. Very easy to lose the car, especially on that curb, which isn't there in real life. And has been there for the last 10 years, but we'll ignore that one. Through the exit of Fania, and then of course down into Stavolo 1 and 2, down back into 4th gear, another retirement from the session, as I believe that's one of the Ferraris, Lennox, who is out of the session, so he's not going for a lap there, must have been validated. But here comes Nico then, down into Blanchimont, and again 200 plus miles an hour as you chuck it into the left. Hope the car's not going to have a failure on you, which it doesn't. And then, of course, down into the bus stop chicane, down into 4th, down into 3rd. Misses the apex like an absolute bust, but he gets away with it on the exit as long as he gets a good run through here up to the line. Might just find himself on the 3rd row of the grid, find himself just on the 4th row of the grid. Behind that, one of the Alfa Romeos. That'll be, well, both of the Alfa Romeos. Leon, and then, of course, Joey crossing the line behind. Here comes Leon, first of the 2 then. First of the real front guys then. Can he get himself any higher on the grid? Does not. Find himself 4 attempts down. What about Joey? Can't improve either. Aston Martin of Christian goes up to 6th. Behind that, one of the, it might be, it's cool, man, goes up to 5th. Then we got the McLaren of Sem. Let's see what he can do. 3 attempts up in the McLaren. Crosses the line right now. Goes up to 4th. Behind him, we've got one of the Hasses, I believe, where it is. somewhere. That'll be Janik down there. Let's see where can he go. Puts himself in pole position then, so goes even quicker. However, Slinky on a lap time behind. A few others following. As I believe we've got Car Racer up to the line. Does improve, but not by enough. Finds up 2/100 stat. What about Slinky? Can he find himself just over a 10th in a bit then to get himself in pole position? He can then, but 42.4. Is anyone else going to be able to react to it? We've got a few others on lap times. One of the two Mercedes through. We've got Bunty, we've got Frov up to the line. Bunty will be a surprise to see him put himself on the front row. Does improve up to 8th. What about Frov crossing the line as well? And let's see where he can go. And the other Mercedes up to the line, finds himself up here alongside his teammate. And then the last car, which will be Johnny, comes into the pit lane. So qualifying done. Slinky has managed to bounce himself all the way then, like a Slinky in real life, and find himself back on the top step of that order then. So he'll be starting on pole. Alongside him, Janik in second, Kart Racer in third, Sem in fourth, separated by 0.4 of a second. Leon very close behind. And then, of course, it's Coolman, Christian, Bunty, Provax, Nico, Carl, and then, of course, Ison Compoda. And then we've got Trust 1-1, Elliot, Johnny. And then we've got Joey Elliott, Ellie, El Piloter, as I'm going to keep killing him different names every 5 minutes. And then, of course, the Lennox down the back. But what a qualifying session there, Quinn.
Yeah, it was very, very entertaining seeing the last couple of laps, and did say anyone that would be coming out of the race, out of the pits, a bit later than everyone else would struggle, but it looked like everyone crossed it just in case, and that's a very interesting driver pose.
Yeah, well, Slinky then on the top step, looking happy as ever there on the left as we go through, but 54/100ths of a second between first and second. Top 10, top 14 separate under a second. Top 10 under 0.7 of a second. This is going to be an awfully close race, especially that rundown from 6th down to at least 13th, under just under a 10th of a second, separate all of them. So it just shows a small mistake, a little bit of time gained around here. That will be a lot.
Yeah, definitely. And just seeing all of these, all of these drivers and seeing how well they can do in quali, you have to think, will the quali pace actually translate into race pace? Will we see Slinky hold on to his pole position, his start in first place, all the way down the Kemmel Straight? Because the slipstream in this game is definitely something that you have to be wary of.
And the question is, though, rain, is it going to? That's the more important question as well. It's sunny, so we'll have a nice potential slipstream train, like you said earlier on. Remember, no formation that, as we've discovered. For my second time. So if it's on now, I'm going to question humanity. I will say, by the way, I don't know what the grass is doing on the left with the white line. It's a little bit glitched. Don't know if that's just me seeing that, but
yeah, it is a bit of a lighter colour.
Bit graphical glitched on the grass there, game. But we'll gloss over that as a car does some things that spawns in. I'm being
just
very
doing some break dancing.
I'm being very I've got the hard ties in Bunty's garage, but of course, if you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell as well, and keep up to date with all the live action, all of the lovely tiers that are going on right now. Or stay with us, of course, which we'd dearly love you to do more, to stay with us. But yeah, we'll see what happens, of course. And also, don't forget to follow PSGL on Twitter. So there we go. But in just under 12 seconds time, we shall get ready for one hectic, potential dramatic, could it be a controversial race? Well, we'll find out, of course, because here we go then, the start light, a route to come on then, and just in a few seconds time, as the game decides to take its minute. And here we go then, 5 red lights above the driver, look, but certainly never stare, because here in Belgium, It is underway. Then it looks like a good start from Slinker. All that Janek then coming up alongside. One of the Mercedes in the background has a horrible start there, but it is, of course, the Alpine in towards turn 1. Janek behind Kart Racer, who's got a storming start on the front row. Has everyone got through turn 1 correctly? This time around, it looks like they have then. So they come up down towards their route for the first time. 2 cars running abreast there. It's one of the Ferraris there trying to go around the outside of an Aston Martin. But it's Kart Racer then on the back there. We got a yellow flag. Someone's gone off in a big way then. I think that might be Nico, but here comes Kart Racer. Down he comes then, down towards the com. Will snatch the lead at the first opportunity. Down he comes, up the inside, a little bit late braking there. A bit of contact on the exit, but I think they've got away with it. But down the back, you are... we did mention those mistakes down the back. Nico's gone off. It looks like he's been caught up with Colesberry as well. But as well, Slinky did not get that run down towards Lecom. It is Kart Racer lead. Janek as well having that slightly strugglesome start. Just didn't fire the tyres up. Remember, everyone on the hard compound tyres in this order. So they're all going to fight them way through. Sem there down in 4th. Behind him we got Leon. In terms of who's gained the most positions, by the way, it is, of course, up 2 for Kart Racer, up 3 for Kumpa, up 6 for Pilots from last on the grid, pretty much all the way up to 11th. Lynx following him as well in 13th. But what a good start from Kart Racer right there.
Yeah, it's very, very solid start. And as I said, the slipstream down the Kemmel Straight, it's definitely something you have to be wary of. And I didn't quite see whether Slinky had defended it or not, but yeah, it's very, very solid start for everyone. And just looking at the tyre choices, everyone's on the hards apart from El Pilotor, who finds himself battling with Provotox.
Yeah, he's just got off
and
the
he's
road.
Actually off. He's off.
What's
so he had such a good start from El Pilotor, being on the soft tyres. They don't really last that long around here, but he had such a good start. And then battling with Provotox, he must have had some sort of contact with him, and well, he's just gone off. And look at the gap between Kart Racer and Slinky already, 1.4 seconds. Kart Racer is really putting his stamp on this race already, and Janek is right on the rear end of Slinky, but he doesn't choose to go for a move. There is a purple sector for Janek, so it's really piling on the pressure.
Flags.
There is yellow flags.
Ferrari.
That is Isin Compura's off. I think he's... Has he beached it?
No,
he hasn't.
Just letting everyone through. And doesn't want to rejudge circuit, a dangerous place. But the Ferrari who down 6 possessions now where he started. So a mistake for him, finding himself at the back. But like I said, Kart Racer has opened up a can of worms right now, and he's bolting off then to go and feed the birds. As away he goes then, 1.5 seconds from Slinky in 2nd. Yannick down in 3rd. Sem in 4th. Like we said, no movers from 4th, 5th and 6th, and they've all line of stun. Provek not moving up or down positions either, but everyone else moving up or down, apart from Trust Run, who's a little bit further down the field, hasn't made or gained any positions. But awesome battle down the back, and in fine, the 2 Mercedes now find themselves back in the top 10, which they would dearly love to be.
That's how Pilotor's off.
He's out the race, and where's
he's
that?
out.
That's gone off. That's well off.
Yeah, he's really lost. He must. I'm pretty sure he got on the power on the exit curb, and you know what that does? He just spat him out into the wall, and DRS is now enabled in this session. And well, Slinky is going to be under a lot of pressure. We saw how close Janet got to the back of him down the last lap, down the Kemmel Straight, but it's going to be a lot further back as El Pilotor leaves the session. See how much time Janik gains. He only gains about a tenth and a half down the Kemmel Straight, so not that much, but see if he can get cleaner
Who's that yellow
through here, and
flag?
it looks like that is Joey.
Yeah, another car off down then in to look on. The second time we've seen a Ferrari-powered car going around right there, as I say that a few seconds ago as well. Linux battling away with Provex, and those two switch around positions there as the Ferrari muscles his way past the Mercedes-powered, Mercedes. Like I said, up front, a 1.8 second gap then, and then of course, like I said, we got Yannick and Slinky line astern, just about pushing each other, all on the hard compound tyres, all going till around about lap 12 or 13, I'd imagine. You'd presume a set of medium compound tyres to go to the end. Of course, if we get some safety cars, potentially some rain later on, that can spice things up, but as things stand, it will likely be a hard medium run for all of the drivers, as long as they do not get damaged. Otherwise, they're going to be in a spot of bother. But Kart Racer, as we said, flying away, Slinky in second, but further down the field, awfully close there, as it's Coolman, and we've got this gaggle of cars. Now's the situation we're going to find ourselves in DRS terrain, Quinn. It's back.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting. Of course, you don't want to be, well, at the front of the DRS train, but equally you don't want to be right at the back of the DRS train, because it's just going to be people like Carlsberry, Day Johnny and Trust Run. They're going to be really struggling to make any positions unless there's a mistake up front. And just looking at Bunty, he's the closest battle on track with Coolman. 2 tenths behind. He doesn't make a move at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but he's been pushing Coolman over the last 2 laps, and he's just trying to pressure Coolman into a mistake, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon. I just want to bring the attention up to Janik, because he's right on the edge of the DRS. He's right on the edge. He's about 9 tenths behind Slinky, so Slinky will be trying to push as much as he can to try and get that gap above 1 second. And whilst doing that, he'll want to try and close up as much as he can to Kart Racer out front, who's still around that 1.5 second to 2 second mark ahead of Slinky. And just going back to One Elliott, he's about 4.5 tenths away from Bovotox. He's had a good start from starting, I believe it was 14th, so making up 3 positions is good, but Lynx as well, 9 positions up. He started last in this race. He's already made up 9 positions in the first 4 going on to 5 laps here at Spa, so watch out for him when it comes to the pit stops, because he might be able to get himself into a high scoring position here.
Indeed, as we ride on board Leon as well, and it's so close up front, it's so close down the battle, like you said, as One Elliott makes his way through.
Oh, what a move.
Now up into 10th position, but with DRS going to come straight back to haunt him though, because behind him, Provix is going to have the DRS, so it's just going to come straight back past him, a bit of a squiggle at the top of the hill, but you would surely imagine it'll dive right, nothing the Red Bull can do, he has the DRS, tries to give him a bit of a squeeze, nothing you can do behind him as well, we've got to pass that. Now, I believe the other Red Bull passing, that's Day Johnny then, so both on a move. The Red Bull still trying to fight as well, but Rob holding that one on actually, so still ahead of him right there, but up the road getting awfully close now, down to 5 tenths of a second. As a McLaren there, slightly losing the rear end, that was Sem, but keeps the car just about on the island. But they're pushing each other now, aren't they? This is getting to a phase where these drivers know they've got the hard tyres warmed up. Now they can push. However, as long as they don't make any mistakes, that's going to be the critical thing, as Slinky, of course, driving the number 7. Of course, Kimi Raikkonen's former number. Driving in, of course, the team that Kimi Raikkonen returned to F1 in all those many moons ago. Well, 2 teams ago, I suppose, because it was Lotus, that became Renault, now it's Alpine. So, yeah, but still the same. The Enstone team, of course, which, of course, Fernando Alonso won his 2 Formula 1 titles, and Michael Schumacher won his first 2 Formula 1 titles back all the way in the 1990s when it was Benetton. But, of course, the Alpine car finds himself in second with a lot of traffic behind him right now. And he would dearly love to try and close up to lead at 1.7 seconds. It stagnated a little bit over the last few laps, but if you're Kart Racer right now, you don't really need to push the car to its absolute extremities. You can just put it when you need it, because you've got the gap right now.
Yeah, just looking at this battle between Christian and Lynx. Christian's actually out of the DRS of Bunty, so Lynx should really make easy work of this move. He's already a 10th behind. He goes 4 move round the outside and he gets it done, and he's clear of Christian behind. So up to 8th now for Lynx, and he's really trying to push, and now he's got the rest of this lap to try and close this margin to Bunty so he can then again get the DRS, but it looks like he might struggle with that.
He certainly might do. Further down the field, like we got the battle for 16th and 17th, which you haven't looked at too much since the start. Is actually someone's gone off. Who's that? Is that Coolman's gone off? That's down into Pull-Up. And he's dropped the rear end then in the Williams as the young Ghost right in the way of Dejoni, who just avoids him, but there's no damage on that Williams. Looks like it just got on the curb potentially, so looks like a curb mistake then. As off the road as ahead of him goes Dejoni, but it's cool. Man's gonna have to rethink his strategy and go again then. Rod's running in around about that 6th position mark and finds himself down the back as he only gets himself a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits too many times right there, so he's gonna have to refocus his efforts as well. But that's gonna put a little bit of more of a gap between some of the drivers. I think it's kind of already there, so it'll be between Leon and Bunty. You can see that gap, which is 4 or 5 tenths of a second. That's where that gap is. And then got Lynx, who's coming back through the field pretty quickly now. You got Christian a bit further back. Then you got One Elliott, who finds himself down in 9th position, of course, and he really needs to get up the order, doesn't he now?
Yeah, he really, really does. If he wants to try and keep touch with Kart Racer, he needs to at least finish on the podium, I'd say. Because One Elliott, well, yeah, he goes deep into...
Oh, car off. Who's that? Mercedes?
Oh, that's Bunty.
And the Mercedes, who we were saying were running in the points, is now out of the points in an awkward position where I hope he doesn't unghost right now, because that was always quite scary, but he gets away with it that time around. I'm always scared of the unghosting system on this game because you don't quite know what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's always a tricky one to try and call, and
oh, no, yellow.
that is Joey again. He's actually gone off and
he's out.
Might have made contact with the wall there. He's retired on track, so that may well be a post-race penalty for Joey there.
A bit cheeky is Lynx losing the rear end as well. It seems like there's no grip out there or something, because they're all very sideways right now. It's more like watching some kart racers. Meanwhile, up front, kart racer, he is getting closed up a little bit, now down to a second. So that gap closing a bit by bit now. It's nearly within a DRS range, actually, isn't it? So 1.1, it was 1.6, 1.7, so I said he could take it easy for a few laps. I didn't mean less easy, because he'd really lifted off and backed up a little bit, but Slinky, who's struggling a little bit with the rear end grip of that car, just fighting it through behind him. Janek, Sem, Leon as well. We've got that DRS straight. Then a bit of a gap down to Lynx, who sits now. Then we've got Christian Elliott, who is right up the rear end of Christian. If you imagine, here comes the move then down the camel straight, pulls to the right hand side, and like taking candy from a baby down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And I was just looking at the battle between Slinky and Kart Racer, looking at the ERS. Well, Slinky's got over double the amount of Kart Racer in ERS, and Janek is sitting around the same as Slinky. So Slinky closing up that gap, he's really got a good advantage here over Kart Racer. He just needs to try and get this gap down below the second mark, and then pick the right opportunity to try and go for an overtake.
Yeah, and the crucial thing is, though, where do you want to try and man that overtake? Because, of course, do it too early down into the source, you're going to get repassed. Do it too late, you're not going to get up the inside and off down into the common, of course. Down into the bus stop chicane is always quite a possibility you can do, but then you've got to make sure you get the job done. So it's a question of when and if and when. So let's see behind, though. Janik's not really dropping too far back. They're all kind of just staying together and all slightly closing up on Kart Racer. Is Kart Racer burning his tyres up a bit too quickly and is now having to compound it? He's certainly burning all his ERS, because I think he knows right now, at this stage of the race, is he the quickest? Potentially not. Is he leading, though? Yes. And closing is one thing from passing, on the other hand, it's a completely different thing, as Joey has left the session, not second retirement, of course, of this afternoon, as well as El Piloto, who dropped it down out of Stavolo, down into Paul Ferrer, and of course, Jerry dropped it down into Brussels then as well, but further down the field.
Is one Elliott making a move on Lynx. So Lynx, after being right on the back of Bunty, I believe, he's like most of the people who are ahead of him have dropped behind, and well, the gap was about 3 seconds to Leon and gave perfect opportunity for one Elliott to get a move done, and well, he did, and now he's sitting in P6. So P6 and P7 up 8 positions and 11 positions respectively. And just going back up to this battle for first, Slinky once again is getting this gap really close to the 1 second mark. It just seems to be that Car Racer might have a little bit more straight line speed. Actually, I say that, it's getting very, very close to that 1 second mark. If he can get the DRS on the pit straight,
I don't think it will.
It could set him up. It could set him up for the Camel straight.
Too far back to do it down into the pit straight then, just a 66 100%. He's pitting, so he's doing the undercut strategy then, and he comes into the pits then, so that's early. So what, 12 laps on the medium tyres, pretty easy to do. He's gone for the first stop. In comes the Aston Martin behind as well, so let's see. And he comes, first stop of the afternoon on for, like we said, that set of medium tyres. And he comes behind him, of course, we've got Christian in the pit. Then we've also got, it's Coolman in as well, in the Williams. So, first couple in the pits, yellow flag.
Sam's making a move on Janik. He goes round the left side of the Haas there, and he gets a move done. Yannick left stranded on the Camel straight, and well, Leon is trying to get into the battle as well, being 5 tenths behind.
Oh, sorry, that made me jump there. Yannick was sideways through. I thought he was going to drop it then, but he caught it. Fair enough. That's some Haas drifting right there. But back to you.
Yeah, it just looks like Janik is kind of struggling at the moment. Maybe he's going through a similar phase to what Car Racer is going through right now, just with the tyre wear. But looking back to Slinky, he's got a bit of nice clean air here. It's on 70% ERS. You're better off saving that until you absolutely need to use it. Christian has picked himself up a 3-second time penalty here. And yeah, going back to Slinky, he's got a nice bit of clean air here on mediums. They should be up to temperature by now. And well, he's in a good position. He's in a really good position because that gap to Kart Racer was about a second. So unless Kart Racer pits this up, which he's not, it looks ever more likely that Slinky will be able to pull off this undercut.
In comes Leon into the pit then as well then, and the delta gap, remember, between hards and mediums, around about 7 tenths of a second at some circuits, all the way up to about a second and a bit. So, well, the phase that purple sectors are already flying around this circuit, we could see a very close battle as the Alfa Romeo pits and runs his mechanics over as he comes out, but that being Leon and Yinks. But let's see, that gap to Slinky's going to be telling. If it's over 2 seconds, then that's really telling. It's way over 2 seconds, isn't it? That is, what, the gap, 17, that's almost 3 seconds he's pulled there, hasn't he? So that's a massive gap, and these two are pretty close to each other.
Yeah, they are. They're really close.
So,
and just looking at these gaps between everyone, well, between one Elliott, Provotox, even Trust Run, Nico and Bunty, all of these guys, they've just got such clean air that they might not even need to pit right now because tyres won't be overheating. So they could possibly go on for another few laps here. Or maybe even if you're feeling like really lucky, you could maybe go to the softs with about 4 or 5 laps left, which definitely could be possible, but you're running the risk of a puncture at that point.
Yeah, car off. Who's that? That's a Mercedes off the road. That's Bunty, whose torrid afternoon becomes slightly worse as he goes off for the second time. And now he's going to find himself all the way plumb dead last. Has to get out of the way of Christian there, who came very close to contact as Sem comes into the pit lane then. So in comes the McLaren, who, like we said earlier on, was right with the car of Slinky. This is going to be telling how big that gap is. More than a second or two, then Kart Racer could find himself in big trouble right now, unless he's gambling on a safety car. Slinky 46.2, setting the timing screens live. He's gone. He's already through turn 1. Leon as well, already up into P2, so that's going to be close on the exit, but losing the rear end though. The Alfa Romeo spins it 360 degrees, and while he was going to get second on the cowback, that the guys ahead were yet to pit, now finds himself behind Lynx, and that's lost him a huge amount of time. He's going to be under real pressure right now, as here comes Christian up the top of our route with the help of DRS, and that opportunity might suddenly turn into absolute misery then, as here he comes. Is the Aston Martin close enough to think about a move? No, he isn't. He'll live to fight another day, but a key mistake there from Leon. He got too much on the curb, too greedy on it as well. He would have got past Sam, and he's gone from hero to absolute zero nearly in a space of 200 yards.
Yeah, it's very, very, very unfortunate for Leon, but now he's just got to get his head down, fully focus on the recovery drive ahead, and I just want to go to, I believe that is Provotox.
Other Mercedes.
Both Mercedes.
Both
Mercedes. They're having a horrible time around here. They're both spinning, but Provotox, I don't believe he has pitted yet. He's completely depleting his ERS, so maybe pitting this lap.
In comes leader, in comes second. One Elliott stays out for another lap then. We presume Prov's going to be diving in the pits as well. As presumably Nico might follow. No, neither of them do. Slinky though, where's this going to come out then? So down the pit
It's going to be really close.
He'll be ahead, but how much? Yeah. 46. Well, he's going to be way ahead, I think. Down he comes then, out of turn 1. Yeah. Out the pits comes Slinky. It'll be on the right-hand side. That was Kart Race up, and what was that, 2 seconds? Cleared him, hasn't he, completely? Sem as well, up a few percent ahead of Yannick. So that undercut strategy has really worked. However, now Slinky's going to have to hope these two ahead stop pretty quickly, because otherwise he's going to get himself in some traffic. Yeah,
Kart Racer just down the cover straight, trying to just weave around a little bit and try and get more temperature in these tyres. But the only problem that I can see with this is the fact that Slinky did pit on lap 9, at the end of lap 9, and well, Kart Racer pitted on the end of lap 12. So there's 3 lap fresher tyres, and around here that can make a huge difference in tyre life. So I wouldn't count Kart Racer out just yet. We saw what he was like at the start of the race. So if he can show anything like that pace that got him up to near enough a 2-second lead at one point, he's going to be right on the back of Slinky come the end of this race.
And Slinky right now right on the back of the Aston Martin and the Mercedes ahead of him as he comes down in towards Blodgimon. Up the inside he comes, and straight past he goes then with the help of ERS. I don't think the Aston Martin was going to push too heavily to find that one. Is now next up on the line. Here comes Prov, and you'd be brave to take a dive from this far back. He thinks about it. Prov goes a bit deep though, and his Prov, he wants to pit but he can't, and now he has to do the undercut. Swings back under. Through he comes. Though, does he get a better exit? No, he doesn't. Loses the rear end. And now he just has to sit there for a few more seconds. He might think about a move, backs out of it. Yellow flags behind. Down in turn number 1. That's the AlphaTauri off. But here is Slinky now up towards our route, and he'll sit there and just wait a few seconds, then use the ERS and all the DRS up the top of the hill. And this should be a relatively easy manoeuvre. As here we come, them up the top behind him. Nico as well following suit.
He's going to get swamped.
He's going to get
swamped here.
As now up the inside goes one, up the inside goes the other way. Here comes Nico for a second there. Has a little look. He's still there trying to line up the race leader. And here's Prov coming straight back at him. The Aston Martin. The Mercedes barely touched. But look at Kart Racer now. He's half that gap completely. It was 2.5 seconds. Now he finds himself, what? A second just under that. But now he's got to get past them.
Yeah, all of this battling between Nico, Provotox and Slinky played into Kart Racer's hands, and well, he's brought along backup with Sem and Janik all there behind him. But yeah, all of that battling ahead of Kart Racer has really helped him out And he's going to be... It's not really a good position, well, placed on the track to catch this train, as there's yellow flags in sector 2. That's a Red Bull, and I believe it's Carlsberry. But yeah, as I was saying, Kart Racer caught the pack right at the wrong time. And well, all of this is leading to Slinky. He could potentially get out of the DRS of Provatox behind him and, well, leave Kart Racer in the back. And just looking at the sky, it's turned from clear skies to doom and gloom. So it might start, the weather might actually play a big part in this towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it certainly could. It's Kart Racer closing up as he comes to the bottom of our reach, but no making moves right left for the time being. Up the top though, bit squiggly yellow flags. That's called out the race in the pit lane, but here we go then with the help of DRS. What I got the inside, the Aston Martin giving the right old squeeze though to the inside, but up the inside it comes, late braking then from the Williams, gets a job done. Had to get that one stopped perfectly. Did he just then? But up there now into fourth position behind the McLaren now might try and think about a move then. Up the inside as well, that's brave, there's going to be contact, a little bit of a nudge then. But gets through on the exit, gives him a bit of a squeeze. The Aston Martin has to bail out of that one if he wants to live to fight another day. And of course these guys are gambling on a set of soft compound tyres at this point. There's no other point unless they're gambling and knowing something that we don't. Is there potential rain? That cloud moving in very quickly. One Elliott as well on that set of hard compound tyres, 10 seconds up the road. Is there a late twist in the drama then here today? But Kart Racer has to get himself ahead of Prov right now as Carlberry out of the session. Here is Kart Racer and now lined himself with that Mercedes. Had a terrible exit, but not going to get himself down up the inside quite yet. Might just line it up as Nico.
Janik gets the move done on Nico's. Made up 2 positions on this lap. He's going really well, is Janik, and well, he's really got to be careful here, trying to get a move done on Sam at the bus stop. But again, Kart Racer actually gets the move done on Provatox. The gap is about 1.5 seconds. It is closing very quickly though. So Slinky and Kart Racer, this will be a very exciting race, and just as I said, he could be right on the back of him come the end of the race.
Here comes Seb meanwhile to presumably take that position then from the Mercedes. Around the outside he goes at the top of our route. Down the straight we go, and that was a relatively easier manoeuvre this time around. The Mercedes of course yet to stop, and he's really gambling potentially on some rain to absolutely hammer the circuit down in the next couple of laps, or he's going for an audacious strategy to go straight on the soft compound tyres, because behind him Jay Janik pushing up the rear as well, and he just has to sit back for a few seconds. Might think about a move down in towards P1, but that'll be brave.
Yeah, it will be very brave move to try and make, and yeah, Provatox, it looks like he's really starting to struggle here on these tyres, as yeah, he's lost about, well, over half a second as Janik is really riding these curbs, really pushing Provatox all the way through. He doesn't want to be going for a move through these medium high speed corners. Apart from coming up to the bus stop, he will be using his DRS, and he breezes past Provatox. A great move there, but now he's just gonna have to hope that he can get a big enough gap to the back of Provatox looks to the outside, but Yannick covers it off. And yeah, as I was saying, Yannick really needs to try and push the pace and try and extend this gap back to Provatox, and it looks like he's doing just that. And Nico might be looking for a move, but Lynx goes for a dive down the inside, and he finds himself back up into 7th place, making up 11 positions. And well, he's right on the back of Provatox now. So maybe he can get a move done.
Look at the sky, by the way. It is now completely overcast. Is there some rain? As one Elliott picks himself a 3-second time penalty. That might come in to bite him later on, because if it starts to rain, as Trustrun also picks up a 3-second time penalty. But look at the sky right now here in Belgium. Those sunshine clouds we saw earlier on have now turned to dark rain clouds potentially. But where is the rain? Is it coming? Well, if it is, by the looks of how it's coming, I'd say give it a lap or two, and I think we might see some spots.
Oh, that was such a great move by Leon. Then he pushes Nico down even more, and now he's basically right on the back of Provotox again. And Lynx is making up some very, very good positions here on the mediums, and he's already pulled away from Provotox. Just looking at Leon, yeah, everyone's just breezing past Provotox and Nico, so the gamble, you'd have to say, it's not really paying off unless it starts raining. Well, now it's not going to be paying off for those guys, and Leon goes for a move down the inside of Provotox, and he gets a move done. 3 Ferrari powered cars in a row on the circuit, all different teams, and they're all about the same distance away from each other, so coincidence? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Meanwhile, here's the battle then for second and third on the order. Potentially for first and second. We are still waiting one Elliott to pit unless it rains. And he needs it to rain right now, really. If it starts raining this lap, he'll be happy. But here comes Kart Racer at the top of our route. I think he's a little bit too far back right now to make that manoeuvre down in towards Lacombe. He's certainly closing more and more. As nervous eyes on the pit board then here at all the teams. Look at that sky. Look at potential some rain, because that's what they're gambling on right now. As Bunty gets passed by Trust Run down in towards the chicane, and the whole compound tyres passed, as I will say, by the way, that new update to George Russell's car to make the end plates blue, as the patch note said. Really useful, by the way, apparently. But there's lots of bigger things you could have patched, but you know, some blue things, that's always useful. Anyway, Kart Racer down in third, and again, just stuck there right now. Needs to find a way past the car ahead. No rain yet falling from the sky. We'll keep you updated if there is, because we'll certainly see if there's some rain, because it will suddenly start streaming down. Remember, in Belgium, when it rains, but it pours. And it absolutely buckets it down, and here we go then, down into the chicane, and he moves still, nope, not quite, but behind him, the McLaren and a Janik right with him. This scrap, by the way, which was really the battle between Slinky and Kart Racers, now become 3 or 4, as now it's rain.
There's some rain coming down, and this could be the perfect opportunity. It might be wet enough to pit at this lap. At the end of this lap, it might just be wet enough.
In comes Frob into the pit lane. Surely that's not for a set of intermediate compound tyres.
Is it?
But here comes Kart Racer. He's not going to take the opportunity. Round the outside at the top of the hill. Here we go then. Down the Camel Straight. Pulls alongside. Pulls ahead of the Alpine. And finds himself now into P2 then in this race. But is that a set of intermediate... No, it's a set of soft compound tyres for Prob. So do they think the rain's not going to come down heavily enough? Well, that's... audacious. If it does suddenly come down, bucking it down, he's going to find himself in a hell of a lot of trouble. But the car race is closing. It's already now nearly down to 3 seconds to 1 Elliott. His tyres are shot, Quinn.
Yeah, I was just contemplating in my head. It is such a long lap around here that even if it just stays like this, the weather, it could definitely be ready for, well, inters by the end of the lap. But if it does get wet enough for inters, we might see some people coming in the last 2 laps, because it's such a long lap. If you're on dry tyres in wet conditions on this lap, you are going to be struggling big time.
Look at the gap Kart Racer's pulled nearly a second straight away. He is absolutely flying here in Belgium. As they come down the chicane, I thought for a second was going to think about a dive into the pit lane, but no, still not quite wet enough. But the rain falling, they're all twitching, squiggling around. I'm going to say around about, it's going to be on the end of this lap, potentially. We'll start to see some cars pitting Nico in. I'm wondering, we'll get the tyre graphic up.
It might just be a little bit too early. It might be too early.
Yeah, that's what I think.
The rain isn't coming down heavy enough, unless he's putting the soft... No, he's putting the inters on.
Yeah, he's putting the inters on.
I still think it's too early.
Let's see. Gamble then, and already Kart Racer's out of DRS on Slinky. He is absolutely flying around this track. That gap down to 1.8, 1.7 seconds. Now down to 1 Elliott. And this gamble, this absolute gamble from 1 Elliott, it still might pay off. He's got the 3-second time penalty, but he needs it to rain, and he needs it to rain now, because if he doesn't, he's going to find himself in a lot of trouble. Those tyres, they're going to last a little bit, but not much longer. And look at the circuit now, starting to get a bit of a sheen on it, starting to get a little bit wet, as Ison Komperup gets himself a 3-second time penalty to add to his woes. A lot of penalties so far today. Looking at it there, 3-6, 3-6, 3-3-3-3, and 9 for Day Joni down at the back. But still, just looking at the sign, looking at the on the top of your screen, no DRS disabled quite so yet. But look at the streams of rain now coming down on your screen. If it's going to rain, are we going to see a potential of a Spa 2008 where it suddenly starts to rain in the last real lap heavily? We're going to see anyone dive in the pit. Then 1 Elliott's going to have to stop. He has to stop now, because Fraser will get himself a disqualification next lap. So this is the only opportunity he's coming for. So instead of intermediate tyres, and now he's got a gamble. It's going to rain heavily. Yellow flags as there is Nico's gone off. So that's probably showing how it's not raining too heavily. But look at the other drivers. Day Joni's struggling to keep on the island. There's Kart Racer up the top of the hill behind them. Slinky, then comes Sem.
Slinky's really struggling. I'm not sure if it's just the rain that's making him slippery and just like causing him trouble, but he's not really put up much of a fight to Kart Racer apart from, well, the undercut strategy, and it's really come to hurt him now. Just because the 3 laps difference between the tyres. I'll have to check the tyre life. Yeah, 11 laps for Slinky, 8 laps
DRS
for Kart
disabled.
Racer.
Now intermediate conditions. So all of a sudden, 1 Elliott's got himself in the prime position. If it rains heavy enough right now, he could still win this race. He's got a lap and a bit to find himself. Where is he? All the way down in Pouon. Down towards Pouon to get himself up to the lead here. That is going to be a big gamble, because surely now the leaders, they will not stop. You would imagine now they've got to stay out, because if they pit right now, they're going to find themselves dropping out of this position for a win, even a podium. This could be a little bit entertaining then. One final lap here in Spa. 3 drivers battling for second position, all going left and right in the intermediate conditions, all on slicks, as through they come into the chicane. No one taking a last lap audacious dive into the pits, because why would you? But here we go.
Contact.
Last lap, 1 Elliott finds himself up in 8th position right now. We've got a car off the road down into Blanchimont somewhere. Yellow flags flying as they got to the power, but in comes Leon then into the pits. But where is Elliott? He finds himself now up in 7th position. Is he coming close enough? I don't think so, but a big mistake there from Sem at the top of the hill, and he almost loses it there. How he kept that on the island, and it's absolutely bucketing it down now. Look at the track. It is soaking. Absolutely soaking here, and now there could be a position that could gain. These guys could find themselves dropping. Elliott closing all the time right now. Well, look at the gaps between them. He's, what, 19 seconds? These drivers going to lose 19 seconds. I don't know as Yannick tries to go around the outside then. As look at them just tiptoeing around. They're just struggling on the power. And this could be so entertaining. This could be awfully close as look at Elliott. That gap was they were all the way down in Afania. Now they're just exiting Pouon. I don't think it's going to be enough, but he is closing very quickly as well as Link. Look at Link's coming at these guys as well.
It's definitely closing in really quickly, and just looking at this gap to Christian. Christian is really starting to struggle in these conditions. And 1 Elliott, he might even gain one more position. And Bunty has left the session.
Yep, he was already out of the session, I think, down the back. But here we go then, down into the last couple of corners. Here's Kart Racer on the dries in the wet. Through he comes then into the chicane. One more turn to go then, and he's timed it pretty much perfectly. Kart Race led wins yet another race, extends his championship lead at the top of the order. Kart Racer wins the Belgium Grand Prix. Slinky across the line in second, just about then, from Sem's Yannick. Yinks does get it. What about this gap loop? Has Christian got it? I think he just about will on the power.
Oh.
Elliot behind on penalties though. He will get him. So it almost worked out. Another lap, and that could have been. It rained any heavier. That would have worked. Behind him, Leon in ninth. Coolman does finish in 8th. Come back across the line sideways in there and ends up in the side pods of a Mercedes. Trust Run in 12th, and Nico's done some spinning at the last corner and will just about cross the line if he can get the power run. Is he going to do some spinning for us? He will. If you get the hand down, that's nearly perfect 360. 4 out of 10.
We've got
Go, Nick.
Day Johnny right coming to the bus stop chicane.
Solani comes, and in his conditions as well, is he going to do a little bit of sliding across the line right now at the back? So, enthralling race here in Spa.
Yeah, it's a very solid lap here. Well, very solid race for our championship leader, who is Kart Racer. Extends his championship lead to 1 Elliot, and yeah, it's just been a very solid couple of races, well, a few races for Kart Racer, and just the overall consistency he's had so far this season, just proving why he should be at the top. So just run through the race results here. We have Kart Racer in P1. Slinky, so unfortunate to lose the P1, but he finds himself in P2. Then Sem rounding off the podium in P3. Then we have Link starting 18th. If we're gonna choose drivers of the day, it have to be him. Then Yannick in P5, 1 Elliot in P6, Christian in P7, then Coolman, Leon and Provotox rounding off the top 10. Then we have Isin Kompura in 11th, Trust Run in 12th, Nico 13th, Johnny in 14th. Then Bunty, Carlsberry, Joey and El Pilotor, all the non-finishers, but Johnny, I believe Bunty was still classified as he DNF'd on the last lap.
Yeah, indeed, but Kart's as I think his actual is, but Kart Racer, Kart, either of them, he could tell us maybe. That'd be nice. I'll message him sometime. See if is it Kart or is it Kart Racer? I keep saying it's Kart Racer because it looks like it, and I guess that's what it's meant to be. But an incredible. What's your final thoughts though before we round it off? And of course, drive of the day. I'm gonna say Slinky's done a beautiful job there, of course, as well.
Yeah, I think just the overall race is just been. It was so exciting between the battle between Slinky and Kart Racer, as well as Yannick and Sam getting involved right at the end there. It's just been. It was such an exciting race to see from the front, and even the midfield battles that all happened, and yeah, it's just been really good. And I do believe the next race we have
Australia.
Next, yeah, it's Australia, which is going to be coinciding with, I believe, the return of the PC tiers. So if you want to see some some of the esports drivers in the PC F1 tier, be sure you stay tuned and turn the notifications on. If you can like as well, if you can subscribe, it can really help us out. But yeah, this has been myself and Liam, aka Evil Dragon, and yeah, we will, well, hopefully my normal commentary partner is here next week, but if not, unfortunately, there will not actually be a stream because Liam won't be available next week. So here's hoping that Salim is back and ready to commentate.
Yes, indeed. But as per usual, thank you to Quinn for letting me here, and thank you, of course, to PSGL for having me on again. But until next time, wherever I see you, of course, might not be next week due to personal things. But moving on from that, of course, for the last 2 races, I should be free, so you might see me in Abu Dhabi in USA. But until then, I've been Evil, Quinn has been Quinneth, and until next time, take care and goodbye.
See you.